Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of Global Card Collectors. I've really been looking forward to this one. I'm here with my friend Steve Summers, who was one of probably my first 5 contacts in New Zealand when it came to card collecting. So I met Justin, the rugby card guy, and then Justin introduced me to Steve, and it's just been great ever since. So Steve, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing?
Very good, very good. It's great to be here. I was actually looking through your old YouTube channel earlier this afternoon. It's almost like a year to the day since we did our first interview and stuff. So time flies.
Yeah, it really does. And we're here to discuss the upcoming card show that you've been organizing probably for the last year, ever since the last card show finished. You're back onto the grind, and it sounds bigger and better than ever. Do you want to just give us a little bit of a rundown about what the New Zealand Card Collectors Show is, how long it's been going for, and what you're planning for this year?
Yep, sounds good. So this is going to be our 4th edition of the card show. So we had the first one in Johnsonville, and then for the previous 2, it's been out in the Hut, just outside of Wellington and stuff. And so what we've really done is kind of naturally growing the show over each year. And it started off as something that was very tied with the New Zealand Card Club and its stores. They're the patrons of it. But as the years have gone on, we've grown into having a broad representation of the card collecting community. And so this year it's on 27 April, Sunday 27 April, which is Anzac weekend. So it's only about 7 weeks to go, something like that.
Yeah, it's not far.
Time flies. And to your point, it's interesting that when you finish one of the shows, you have a grace of maybe a couple of months, and then you're back into planning and sorting and stuff. Particularly when we're trying to work out how we can grow the show, what other things we can do, kind of feedback we get from vendors and buyers, and just kind of take it forward, because there's that real demand and hunger out there from the card collecting community to try and what else can be done. Which is great. You always want to kind of try and make the next one bigger and better than the previous. But for us, it's been kind of a natural progression, and we feel, and with this one coming up, it's certainly going to be a lot bigger compared to previous years.
Well, I think the show last year was my first ever real card show. I was blown away, man. It was amazing. I think it was really well organized by you guys. I think there was a great variety of cards. And it was cards that were specific to me in many ways, as a rugby card collector, as a cricket card collector, as a person who wants cards from the 90s, or maybe someone who has like some 1970s rugby cards, and you could find them there. So a really, really great show. I mean, I was on cloud 9 that weekend, like starting out at your place, having a look at the cards, box breaking, and then going to the venue and talking cards with all of the vendors. And then the next day, just a full on from morning till late in the afternoon. Completely exhausted by the end of the day, but just loved it. It was so much fun. So I can't imagine what this year's show is going to be like, if it's going to be bigger and better. So what things do you have planned for the show to make it bigger and better than last year?
Well, in terms of bigger and better, because I think last year it was something like about 139, 140 tables, something like that. And
Okay.
this year we've sold out. So, we've got vendors had a choice of either a 2.4 metre table or 1.8 metre table to choose from. And just to give you a little bit of that kind of comparison from last year to this year, because last year was all 1.8 metre tables. If you kind of compare apples with apples of last year to this year, so last year 139, 140 tables, this year it's a bit over 190 tables. So you talk about that kind of variety of cards and all that kind of stuff, from vintage through to sports, TCG, etc. So we're just going bigger and better in terms of that variety. In fact, it's almost to the point where, it's open from 10 to 3. You're really going to have to pick and choose where you go, because there's just so many tables to actually look through and stuff. Whoa. And what we've, and you'll recall last year, it was all in the one spot. So we had, out at Whirinaki, all the tables were set up. Where we've got it at the Indian Association Hall this year, there's the main hall that you go into, and that has about, 120 odd tables, something like that. Then we've got this massive stage area. So it's got a really deep, massive stage that's got a whole bunch of tables up there. Then there's also like a side room. And what we're thinking with that side room, that's going to have more of a kind of a TCG feel to it. So there's going to be a whole lot of vendors there. And that's where we're going to have also our kind of trading space tables. Because one of the feedback we got from last year, keep the trading space tables for the public. They want an area where they can check out their cards, where people can talk, do all that kind of thing. And then to the side of that is going to be, we're kind of looking, it's going to be like a kid space. And again, we've got, I won't give it away at the moment, but we'll have a couple of things to be announced that'll be particularly cool for the kids to be involved in there. So it's kind of like you go to different areas, there's things going on, plenty to explore for everybody, really.
Wow, that's awesome. I think that TCG space might be really crowded, mate. The Pokemon cards these days are they are impossible to get. And you can see I'm wearing my Pokemon t-shirt today. But they are really hard to find in New Zealand. So I have 3 family members in pretty rural parts of New Zealand. And so you'll have places like farmers, the warehouse, all those sorts of places who will bring in stock. And I swear, in less than an hour in all of those places, they are gone. I'm on the Pokemon TCG group on Facebook, and they're like, you can find the cards here. And then within an hour, they're like sold out. I'm like, oh my goodness. It is just there. It's getting almost a bit feral. The activity there, people are going crazy for this stuff. So I can only imagine how big it's going to be when it comes to April, and how crazy these Pokemon card collectors in particular are going to be going after cards there, because there'll be some there, and I think they're going to get whipped up in the first hour or two.
Yeah, definitely. I think you just see via like in terms of social media, as you point out, like the shops, just kind of the buzz around Pokemon is just massive. So we've been really conscious of making sure that we get some more vendors who are kind of popping along, selling that stuff. If you look at we've got about a bit over 60 vendors, and about a bit under half of those are actually professional businesses. They're actually doing it for a living, and then the rest are your collectors, your people who are looking at just making a bit of coin from the spares they've got, all that kind of stuff. So we feel like, again, one thing we've always been conscious of ever since we've run it is to make sure that kind of the little guy can actually have a presence at the show and have a table and have a sale and stuff like that. And so, again, we feel like we're getting that good mix between those businesses, which, provide a mass amount of cards, and also the collectors, because the collector tables, you don't know what you're going to get. It could be all kind of fun stuff. And so getting that right balance. But I think, to your point, the TCG space, we've actually set up the tables that there is going to be a bit of gap, because we just wonder how many people are going to kind of, go into there, and it could be quite crowded quite quickly. So, which is good. It's a good problem to have. If everybody's having a fun day.
I really like that idea that you mentioned of having a mix of professional businesses and collectors mixed. I think that gives the show that little bit of uniqueness that you don't really see in many other shows, because it's hard to find those authentic collectors. And that's probably due to your connection to the New Zealand Card Club, the card community there, the Cardophilic Society. I think it's also due to the fact that you guys have been around for a while. And because you're cognizant of that, and because you really want that to happen, it makes it a very unique show, a very Kiwi show, I think, because then you're getting all of these New Zealand brand cards that come in, rather than just everything from the States or overseas. Then you're getting all of these old rugby cards and cricket cards, and that's what made it so much fun when I was there.
Yeah, that's right. And I think because the prices for the tables this year are the highest we've had, and we probably won't go any higher. So we had $25 for a 1.8 meter, $30 for a 2.4, but that's still that's not breaking the bank for your average collector in terms of table price. So we've been very conscious of keeping that artificially low to make sure that you can actually get collectors involved, because once you start getting up to a certain price point, they just go, well, am I really going to sell that amount of money? It's a bit of a risk, all that kind of stuff. We want to take that away, and for them to just go, yep, that seems reasonable. I have a crack for the day. give it a go. And so we've got
Yeah,
a whole lot
perfect.
of returning vendors. We found that over the last couple of years. We've got a whole bunch who go, yep, sign me up for next year. That's great. But we're getting a lot of new ones as well who've either from other parts of the country or they've attended and they've gone, hey, I want to be part of this.
Yeah,
Let's
perfect.
set up for the day and just see how it goes. Yeah.
Do you want to give us a little bit of a sales pitch to maybe someone in Auckland or Wellington, and how it might be a show that they might want to attend? Just giving them a little bit of encouragement as to what's going to be available and how it's going to be actually quite convenient for them to attend, rather than just being like we'll just go to a show here in Auckland or in Christchurch. Why would they make the trek down to Wellington?
Yeah. So we've been really conscious of making sure it's as easy as possible to get to the venue. So if you'd already had a look on our Facebook page, the venue is it's less than a 5 minute Uber drive from the Wellington airport. So it's really, really close. So it's easy to get there. So if you go, look, I'm not too keen on paying for accommodation, for it. I want to try and keep my costs low. You can easily fly in and fly out the same day. So you can just make easy peasy. That's no trouble. Of course, you can make a weekend of it, that kind of thing. So that in terms of that ease for people around the country, whether you're Auckland, Christchurch, Dunedin, wherever, and we have heard from people coming from all parts of the country, that's kind of the easy and relatively cheap entry point. Although you want to get your tickets sooner rather than later because Air New Zealand keep charging quite a lot. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of that breadth of cards, when you have that many tables, and it is from the vintage through to sports through to TCG, there's something for everyone. And as you know from last year, it not only do you see your hobby well represented in terms of what cards you're interested in, but then you also see a bunch of other stuff that you might not have even kind of experienced or known about before. And so it gives you that
Mm-hmm.
really kind of broad perspective in terms of what card collecting can be. And I think the other thing is that we always say to vendors, make the most of your space, right? So it's not only the cards on the table. If you've got a whole bunch of other cards that you might have in boxes, bring them along. You can have it beside you, behind you, do whatever. Bring it along because you never know what people are going to ask for. And so, it really is the case that there is hundreds of thousands of cards at the show. So, if you can't find something that you're after, obviously your wants list might be pretty small. So, it's really just go for it and enjoy the day. And it's also, we've been really conscious of the social side of things as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
again, the night before we'll have a drinks and also kind of like a trade night, sponsored by Card Crazy. So that's a great chance and kind of a more relaxed atmosphere to meet other card collectors, things of that nature. There's a couple of other things that we'll announce in the coming weeks in terms of other stuff we'll be doing during the day and maybe something afterwards just to see how that goes. So you can, our view has always been make the weekend of it. If you want to keep costs low, fly in for the day, fly out, that's fantastic. But if you want to get the full experience, there's something that you can do the day before as well. And it's always cool to, go to another part of the country and stuff and check it out. Hopefully the Wellington weather will be good for the weekend. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, could you just give us a few more details about the two elements of the trade night and the day itself? So, for example, what time does the trade night start, and what time does the show actually go on for?
Yep. So we'll be announcing soon the drinks trade night. That'll be on the Saturday. It'll probably start about 6:30, something like
Okay.
that. And so it'll be going for a few hours. It'll be at a pub that's relatively close by to where the main venue is. We you know We've set it up that there's going to be a whole bunch of tables. So if you bring your Pelican case, you bring some cards, or you just bring yourself and just want to have a chat, you can do all those kind of things. So that's soon to be announced, which will be great. Then on the day, it's going to be from 10 to 3 in terms of the show. So basically, we found last year there was well over 100 people who were waiting to get in on the day, lined up. So yeah, And what we found is the time, as you probably well know, that the time just disappeared from
Yeah, you
10 to
blink
3.
and it's
It
gone,
goes
man.
so
It
quick.
went
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
quick.
Yeah, yeah. And what we'll be doing is letting everyone know before time on the Facebook page. We'll have the table layout, we'll have who the vendors are, all that kind of stuff. So when you have a look at that, you come in, you want to make the most of it. You can kind of identify where you want to go early on and try and get certain cards you're after.
Yeah, because even though it's 4 hours, let's say you arrive at 10, um, with that number of vendors and with the volume of people around, I mean, it's a limited amount of time for you to really kind of get what you want. And you have to kind of almost go in with a plan of, you know what cards I'm looking for? I'm looking for this player, or I'm looking for this set, or I'm looking for this card. And so you're probably going to have to map out the kind of vendors that you want to see and which area of the show you want to go to.
Yeah, definitely. You have to be a little bit strategic about it. Totally. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Very good, though. It's good. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Oh,
speaking
it
of
is.
that, I have a, I'm going to ask my friend Tony, who has been on the show before. He's flying down from Auckland, and he's going to be going to the show. And he basically showed me the Ultimate Warriors rookie card.
Hmm.
It's a New Zealand
Hmm.
card,
By marketing.
and
So,
I
yeah.
wonder if that card pops up at the show, I'm going to see if he can buy it for me, and then I'll pay him back. I think that kind of venue is a place where you could probably find a card that you've been looking for a long time. And I
Yeah.
told you this off air about last year's show. I had been looking for the Sachin Tendulkar World Cup Warriors card for a couple of years. And there were cards available, but they just weren't at the price point that I was willing to pay. I was like, oh, that seems a bit steep. And,
Yeah.
and a lot of them were being priced in US dollars too. So I ended up getting to the show, and I bought, as part of like kind of pre-show stuff, I guess, because we were vendors. I bought that card from Tammy. And when I got it from her, I bought the whole set with it in it. Obviously, I sleeved it up, put it in a top loader, and I sent it to ComC, who has a grading service now that you can go straight to PSA with them.
Ah.
So I sent it through on my ComC account, and it came back maybe 2 weeks ago, and I got a PSA 10 for it. So incredible to buy
Yeah,
it at the price.
that's
The
amazing.
price point I was really happy with, and to grade it, and for that one to come back at PSA 10 is incredible. So I'm really stoked. The price ranges from, it's all over the market at the moment, but I'd say at a minimum it must be around 900 US dollars.
Wow.
So it's great. I mean, I paid much less for it at the show, and it cost me $22 to grade. So
You
22
pro-
US to grade.
you probably got the find of the show. We know.
Maybe,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
It was
Yeah, yeah.
ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Because I remember Dan when he said it, you got that one? I'm like, yeah, mate. He's like, that's a great pickup. I'm like, I know, I've been looking for it for years. And to be able to get it to get it graded and come out of PSA 10 is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So,
very happy with that. So
so just a question, like when you looked at it, because everybody plays the game, did you have a
mhm.
view in terms of what you think it would have graded?
Well, I thought I'd looked at them. There are actually quite a few of that set, because those few tarot cards, that specific set, those insert cards did grade quite well. So
Right.
I was hoping for at least a 9.
Yep.
For it to get a 10 didn't surprise me that much, because all of them have been in such good condition.
Yep.
And having Tammy probably pull it straight out the pack, put it straight into a sleeve, you're good, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
again, the quality of the seller definitely helped out as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
definitely stuck. But it looked like it could be one, but I didn't have my loop light then, so I couldn't go over and look at the surface closely.
Yep.
But centering, corners, edges, looked at that as well as I could, and thought it was going to grade okay. Thought
Yeah.
it's got a shot at a 9, maybe a 10, and it came back a 10. I was obviously very happy.
And you see, that's another reason, like, you were asking before about people to, what's the reason to come along to the show, is because you can get bargains like that. You've just got such
Hmm.
a variety of cards, and what somebody doesn't value much, another person, values quite highly. And if you're willing to put in the time and effort in terms of grading or whatever, you can get those bargains, which is fantastic.
Definitely. And I think on top of that as well, like the face-to-face encounters as well,
Mm.
you'll find that the seller in a show is going to sell you less than comps online, which is obviously always very handy.
Yeah.
And there's just some really unique, I'd say, Kiwi cards at the show. You're looking at like New Zealand rugby cards, classic New Zealand cricket cards. You can find the stuff from, 100 years ago. Maybe even some cigarette cards are going to be there. I'm sure there are.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's right, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and they're awesome cards. They're so cool.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's definitely worth it.
It's interesting you talk about the cricket. I'm already starting to load up my cricket album to get that
Oh
ready,
wow,
and I know Justin's he's working away on all the rugby cards and stuff as well. So
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just, and I think that's the other thing is that there's elements. If you look at TCG with the different type of games that people play, and then you look at just card collecting in general and the rugby collectors, cricket collectors, vintage, other sports, whatever. Everybody's got their own kind of thing. That you can ice hockey is going to be quite prevalent. That's got quite
yeah.
a die-hard collecting community. So
Hmm.
there's a bunch of people who all just got these interests in card collecting get together under one roof. And as I said, you get an appreciation of all these other types of card collecting hobbies that take place. Because sometimes you just, if you only follow certain Facebook groups, there's only a certain thing that you're looking at. This is a good chance to kind of sample a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And I think,
Agreed.
and particularly I think that sports and TCG, they've got their own dedicated communities, but it's really cool. You've got some who collect both, some who are just kind of in one or either camp. There's a good chance to actually just be there and experience what the other's collecting. And to your point, chat to the vendors, chat to other collectors. Why do you collect those, or what's popular, or start up a conversation. Because there was definitely a great vibe. I thought, not only last year but the years before as well, because we're all there for the same reason. We love cards and we just want to talk cards and be involved in that kind of thing.
It was interesting because I think that was the event which piqued my interest in Pokemon cards. Actually,
Hmm.
I we ended up meeting with Kieran the night before for drinks at Brewtown. So we're chatting with them and the guys from PCG card grading about just what the TCG market was, and I was just like, "Wow, this is a completely different world. What are you guys talking about? This is
Yeah,
nuts." So the next day, go into the show with Moana, my daughter, and the kid next to us at the stand next to us, he's collecting Pokemon cards. And she's like, "What are those?" I'm like, "Look, here's $10. Go and buy yourself a pack." So I basically sent her off to Kieran, and she found him, bought some packs, and she's been hooked ever since. And
yeah,
it was from there moving to the Auckland Card Show, and now we're big TCG collectors together. It's just a fun thing to do as father and daughter. We have a great time with it. We love it.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I don't know much about the hobby. Ironically enough, I've actually been watching a few YouTube clips about the history of Pokemon and how they've, with the different kind of iterations that they've had and things of that nature, which has been really interesting. But again, it's another facet of the hobby that you could easily get into and or at least find out about, because all cards have kind of got their own story and history. Yeah.
Hmm. Are you still following the cricket card market closely as well yourself?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I can't help myself. Yeah,
Uh,
it's
I've
interesting.
actually got a couple of go you go.
It's kind of interesting because probably up until maybe 3-4 months ago, the cricket card market in New Zealand, in terms of New Zealand produced cards, cricket cards, was actually struggling a little bit. Well, not struggling, but just it was quite quiet. But then with the Super Smash season that we've just had, and the White Ferns also winning the T20 World Cup, we've actually had a kind of a run of different cards throughout
Wow.
the country. So I think, like the Northern Brave put out a set, Wellington's put out a set, Canterbury put out a set. We had the kind of the Victory Tour set put out by the White Ferns. There's been a few stickers. So within the space of the last few months, there's actually been quite a few cards to come out of the woodwork, which has been
Awesome.
great. Yeah.
Will there be any of those at the card show? Maybe.
Maybe. It's like as you well know, those type of cards, boy, they're out and then they're gone so quickly. So, for instance, the Northern Brave, you could actually buy the sets online, because I contacted them and said, "Have you put out anything?" They said, "Yep, go to this web page." Bought one, and then within a week they're all gone. So it
Wow.
disappeared pretty quickly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's and the White Ferns one. White Ferns one was a really interesting one because they did their victory tour throughout the country, and I just happened to time it really well that they had their kind of show and stuff at the Wellington railway station, and obviously got off the train to go to work, went through, saw it all set up, but I was only interested if any cards, and asked one of the New Zealand cricket employees there, and she said, "Yep, we've put out a set. Here's the set. Here's a couple of stickers. Great." Just like that, fantastic. That you couldn't get better for a collector than just asking, and then they just go, "Yeah, here's a set. Thanks." Nice and
Yeah,
easy.
your day was made. Your week was made. That
Oh,
one,
just smile on the
perfect
face the rest
timing.
of the day. Absolutely, nice and easy. Yeah. Because sometimes it can be quite a journey getting some of these cards. So when it kind of falls into your lap like that, it's a good day. Yeah.
Excellent. So we were talking beforehand about the Black Caps, and we're recording this just a few hours before they play in the ICC final.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you specifically because I remember seeing a couple of his cards at your house when I came to visit you last year. Do you want to just talk about our rising star and Rachin Ravindra and the cards of his that you have and his rookie card and that kind of stuff? Just talk about the run of cards of his that you have.
Yeah, sure. The Ravindra run,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I don't, and somebody will probably prove me wrong. I don't think he's got any overseas cards as yet, because I know he played
No, I don't
for
think so.
the Chino Super Kings, and I think like a Washington side. And I haven't seen anything in terms of, because he was a replacement for the Kings, I think, for Conway. So I don't think there's any overseas cards. So I think the only cards that have been issued for him have been in New Zealand. So I thought I'd just go through, and it'll be pretty quick. There's not too many because, we're only going back as far as 2018-19. And the cards that we have in New Zealand, they aren't like the trading cards where you have the variations and the chase cards and all that kind of stuff. So his rookie card is 2018-19, and this was for Super Smash.
Yeah, that's so cool, man.
And so but you notice that he's actually wearing the New Zealand outfit.
Yes, that's
Wellington
true.
Firebirds. Because at that stage, when the card came out, he was actually, he'd only signed up to Wellington in June 2018. And so
So he never won the uniform.
never wore the uniform. So it's actually kind of, I think it was under 19 or something like that in terms of his outfit.
Wow,
So that's his
cool.
that's his rookie card. And then the next year they had the Super Smash cards again. I meant to say these are also, they're larger than the typical trading cards. So they fit better in the 4 pocket pages, but they still swim around in it. And as you can see with the Ultra Pro kind of thing, it just kind of takes up most of the space. So that's his second year. Now, one thing to notice with Ravindra is his hairstyle. So it's kind of, he's had a bit of a haircut, right, on that one. Doesn't look too bad. There's just the back. I'll talk about the that little kind of thing there in a sec. And then now I think that there's a 2022-23 card of him that Wellington Cricket put out. But I'm still in discussions with Wellington Cricket to try and work out if he's included in that set. So I'm still finding out. But the following year, 23-24, and talking about hairstyle, this card. And so,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so he's really rocking
That's
it
so
there,
different
isn't
to the other two.
it? It is.
Is that from Super Smash as well?
Yep, Super Smash. But this was a card that only Wellington
Really?
Cricket put out. So it's not part of the wider set of the players throughout the country. So it's very much just
Okay.
Wellington Cricket.
That's really cool.
And the other thing, talking about TCG and Pokemon, the card is done kind of like a Pokemon card as well. That was
Yeah,
their
it's true.
thinking. Yeah, for that.
That's nuts.
So, and then his most recent one that came out this season, again, kind of a different design, but a similar type size, is that one there.
Wow. Wow.
And a
They're
pretty,
really cool.
and a pretty similar back as well. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I know of 4. I think there might be 5, but it's just one of those things. I'm having more discussions with them. But the only other thing in terms of if you want to be a Ravindra completist, I mentioned about that kind of back of the card on there. So what, and they did these for a few seasons. They put out team sheets of the players.
Okay.
Yep, and as you can see, Ravindra,
number 9, yeah.
number 9, right there. So you would actually, from that sheet, you would take the sticker off and put it on the card.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, and I'm pretty sure he's got a Black Caps equivalent sticker, not a card. But that's the weirdest thing is that all his cards are regionally based. There's actually no black cap set that's been put
Wow.
out that actually includes him. So the irony is that his rookie card is the one that has him kind of in a New Zealand outfit. You know,
Yes.
it's as close
Yeah.
as it gets.
But that was that age group, New Zealand
Yeah, I think it was something like
outfit, I guess.
under. I did a little bit of research into it, trying to find out. I think it was something like under 19, under 20, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, really
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah,
So I guess when they do release, he's obviously going to get a card one day with a big, international type firm, maybe Tops, maybe Futera, maybe New Zealand Cricket will put out a team set again. When he's in that Black Caps uniform, that's going to be his Black Caps rookie cards. So these almost are almost semi pre rookie cards. Amazing.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really cool. Thanks
Yeah,
for sharing those, man. I really like seeing them all. It's like, whoa, here he is. Because I feel like he's our next one. He looks the goods. He's got all the shots to play, and clearly he's got the grit to be able to, eke out hundreds, and he's got a nose for the big game too. So he's
yeah.
fun to watch.
He is, particularly what all his centuries are ICC, one day centuries, all ICC
Yeah,
tournaments. And I
yeah,
was,
big events. Yeah.
yeah, and his test average isn't too bad.
Hmm.
So I guess for him, it's a case of if he really wants to be known as one of New Zealand's greats, it's beyond one day. Is making sure that his test match numbers get up, and then
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but that just sometimes just takes time. I think he's like 25 now, something like that. So he's probably
Yeah.
got a good 10 years ahead of him.
Yeah,
To his
and when you
prime.
think he's been kind of shown the ropes to Conway, a good guy to kind of have as your mentor,
Yeah.
and now he's in the Black Caps with Kane Williamson. I mean, there's not really many better mentors than that.
Oh, exactly.
Actually, I've got a couple of cards to show you as well, buddy.
Oh,
So
really? Yep.
these are all cricket cards that I picked up in New Zealand,
Yep.
and when I got them, I bought them off sellers, and obviously, as you know, when you're buying cards that have on-card autos, in-person autos in New Zealand, you're almost 100% sure that they're legitimate,
Yeah.
because New Zealand's so easy to get an autograph from a player. So here's my first one. This is a Wazzy Makram PSA authenticated autograph card. Isn't that
Nice.
cool?
Yeah, very
So
cool.
yeah, I basically bought these in New Zealand and then sent them off to PSA through one of the New Zealand PSA services, and got this one back. So there's my Wazzy Makram auto. The next one you're going to love, I think. So this is the great Sir
Wow.
Richard Hadley
Nice.
in-person
Yeah.
auto. Yeah, and obviously authenticated by PSA as well. And
That's a
and
great
my
signature.
third,
Looks really nice.
it's a
Yeah.
great signature. And I mean, I bought them online actually, so I had a good look at what the signature looked like, and there were a few, and it just wasn't really easy to see. Maybe the pen was like a big pen rather than a Sharpie like this one. And I
Yeah.
think this one really shows up very nicely. But the last one I think is a great signature, and one that is going to be really hard to find now. And it's of Martin Crowe. So this is
Yeah.
PSA authenticated Martin Crowe as well. And it's
Yeah.
just a beautiful card because you've got him, following through on a shot, looking at it, not wearing a helmet. He's got the headband on. It's clearly late in his innings because he'd always wear a helmet to start off with. And if he was feeling it, you'd take it off and, you'd have that sweatband on. And
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
signature is just
Yeah.
beautiful. So
Exactly.
these are all pickups in New Zealand. Maybe there'll be some of the cards show. I'm not 100% sure, but you can definitely find them if you know the right sellers. And that's what I did my research on. Was just like, man, can you tell me where you got the signature? And all of this were legit, and obviously so because they've all been authenticated as authentic from PSA.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And especially, I have seen the Martin Crowe one around quite a bit. I think he did end
Hmm.
up signing quite a few cards. I think when that set came out,
Yeah, great.
there was a lot of people who went, "Yep, I'm going to get a signature and stuff." And obviously, Headley's, still alive, so you can still get a signature and things of that nature. But yeah, that Crow one is, to my mind, I mean, as you well know, Headley and Crow are of my generation, the kings of the New Zealand cricket sporting scene. They were the two
Yeah,
cards
for
that I put on my
sure.
book. So that's, there's great memories there, definitely.
Um, do you know anyone who has that ultra gold Martin Crowe card? Because I've seen people starting talking about it recently. I think one might have even gone for sale or someone's trying to sell it. But
Yeah.
that's a white whale kind of a card, isn't it? Really?
It is. It is. I know one guy who's got one. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's nuts.
it's a cool card. It's a very cool card.
Yeah.
It's
So
probably
those ultra gold cards were through card crazy, right?
that's right.
And they were numbered to 50. I want to
Yeah,
say, is that right?
that's right. Exactly.
And
Yep.
it's so hard to find. And I think anyone in the New Zealand and Australian cricket card collecting communities, probably the international cricket card collecting community, they understand that that is one of the cards to have if you're a cricket card collector because it's
Yeah,
just so rare.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
awesome.
It's kind of.
You,
I was just going to say that it's a shame. Obviously with Crow dying, that if you look at the modern Futura Tops cricket cards that are coming out and the signature cards,
mhm.
he would have been right up there in terms of
Yeah,
receiving those cards to sign, and there would have been the one of ones and all that kind of stuff. That would have been he would have leapt at that opportunity. That would have been a really cool card to have. It was just kind of
agreed.
unfortunately, just one of those things. Yeah.
What do you think of those two new sets, the top set and the Futera set for cricket cards?
Yep. I mean, to my mind, any set that includes New Zealand players is great. But I think
Hmm.
there's probably a bit of it, and I get the idea of the greats kind of set. I didn't think the Richard Headley picture was the best. I was quite surprised. I
Hmm.
thought they might have gone for one more in his youth, kind of in his prime.
Hmm.
But I think what's really missing though is kind of a set that's actually put out showing all the great players around the world in kind of current times. I think if we're looking at, you talk about like the card crazy set, and we look at those players there. What's a set that's coming out now that we can recognise players not only in New Zealand but the rest of the world?
Hmm.
Players that we think, because, and ultimately again that comes back to kind of the kids that if they're collecting that kind of set of the players that they see or watch on TV, however they kind of view it, they get involved in that and they can appreciate those kind of sets, and that builds them for the future. So I think, and I don't know whether it's copyright or it's those kind of contracts and all that kind of thing in terms of
I
what you have to
think
pay
that's what it
players today. The
is.
professional
Yeah.
era probably makes it tricky, but I know the sets that we used to collect as kids used to incorporate players from around the world. Like the World Series, so you'd have at least three. And
Yeah, those are beautiful cards. And they'd have that little space down the bottom for you to sign as well.
yeah, so something like that I think would be well received by cricket card collectors to try and get back into that.
Hmm.
But as I said, I don't know whether the licensing and stuff makes it worthwhile.
I think it's all about licensing and just
Yeah,
being, you're having all sorts of different cricket boards. And as soon as you sign a guy, for example, to an IPL contract, what does that mean for their likeness and that kind of thing?
yeah,
And I think a lot of people just kind of give up on it, which is why I think Tops and Futera have gone with the legendary players because they're no longer playing. There's none of those boundaries. And apparently, with the top set, what they ended up doing was contacting just a single agent, and all of those guys who were signed, McCullum, Glenn McGrath, all of those guys were part of his agency. And so
uh,
he basically said, I'll sign the contract. They're all going to agree, and they're all going to agree on their likeness, and they're all going to sign cards. And so that's why that set was so strange because you had everyone except for Indians. There were no
mm,
dominant Indian players in that set. The Futera one, I'm not sure how they were able to manage it, but I still have a sealed pack of these, and
nice.
I'm just waiting to open them. So I don't know when I'm going to open them, but I have a feeling that after our conversation, it might be this week. I might open the pack this week, and
Yeah,
because this has 3 packs in them. Apparently, one of the packs should have a guaranteed either mem card, so a player worn, game worn, warm up patch, or an autograph. Obviously, this one I'm looking for Hadley. I want that's my go-to card. But there's all sorts of really great cards in these too. So I've seen some really nice like Brett Lee autos and some other. I think I want to say some other West Indian legends as well that are in here
yeah,
too. So we'll see how that one goes.
yeah. I mean, they've done a good job. I guess
Hmm.
I would love a modern day card that for a modern day player that kids
Yes,
can get signed on the day. They've got the
hundred
card or
percent.
whatever, and the side, at the sidelines there and get it signed. But one
Yeah,
day,
because
who knows?
it's been a while. It's been a while since New Zealand put like I remember that Caltex set. I've got a couple of boxes of those back in New Zealand,
Yeah,
and they still have what I guess Williamson's probably the only one. Maybe Matt Henry's in that set too. That if you would take it to the game, they could sign it. I guess.
Yeah, it's getting down there. Oh, Santner.
Current players, yeah.
Yeah,
Sadness in there too. Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
there's probably like a handful, something like that. But
Yeah,
to your point, times are changing and players move on. So yeah,
yeah,
that's why I'm hoping New Zealand cricket puts out a set relatively
yeah.
soon
That'd be great.
of the modern players, which would be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, buddy. Is there anything else you want to share about the show or
I guess the
about
only
card collecting
kind
in
of
general?
yeah, just the only things that just to let the public know. So this year we've got a charge at the door, but you don't have to worry. It's only $2 adults, $1 kids, $5 for a family.
Great,
So it's
great,
really cheap to get in. We've got 10 sponsors this year as well, including our platinum sponsor, Card Crazy, and then a bunch of gold sponsors. So we announced all those through our Facebook page. So it's been great having them on board in terms of sponsors.
And
And
you just had
also,
a recent announcement too. Actually, I forgot about it. You had a recent announcement about uh, something special for the show that I just saw yesterday.
yeah, so we've decided to put out our own card.
Wow.
So yeah, we'd been chatting about it for a while, and we were thinking, well, what's the best option in terms of our own card, and is it something that reflects all the various elements of collecting? And we couldn't kind of hit on something that we thought was a real goer. Then Brent Walker, he's a Kiwi in Australia, who's really tied into the rugby card collecting scene, and him and Justin have got massively into getting signed cards. Said, approached us, said, well, what about the idea of getting a signed rugby player card? And you have the card show logo on it. It's limited edition, only available on the day. So we said to Brent, just go for it, mate. And so he's put together a Dane Coles limited edition card. There's 150 produced, and of those 150, 30 are foil cards, and they will only be available on the day of the card show. And they're relatively cheap for a signed card. It's $12. Each is wrapped in a packet, so you don't know whether you're getting a standard card or a foil card. And no doubt there'll be a
Great.
little bit of kind of trading and selling and swapping on the day. Collectors looking for them. So that's kind of our kind of cool little addition. It might be something that we look at doing every year. We'll just have to see how the first year goes and whether there's enough demand for it. But I announced today about what the card was going to be, and we've already had a bunch of people liking it, interested. So and it's
Of
first
course,
come, first
Coles is a
serve.
legend,
Yeah, yeah, and
and he's
Coles,
a superstar in Wellington.
Hurricanes, legendary Hurricanes captain, player, All Blacks player. So really, it's fantastic, and we've been really grateful for him to actually sign 150 cards, which is just fantastic. So
Great. Who ended up making the decisions on the design of the card?
that was Brent. He just he
Yeah,
went
perfect.
yeah, and he just kind of kept in contact with us throughout, and said, "What about this? What about that?" Done a fantastic job. It looks a very professional card. Something that you'd buy in a trading card pack. Absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Um, where can a collector get that at the show on the day? Will they be able to buy at the door, or is
Yep.
there a special space to get them?
Yep. At the door. So when you pay to get in, you'll have the option of getting a card as well. So yeah,
Or they're going to
we're
get
super
snapped up
easy. Super easy.
immediately?
So unless as long as you're, if there's a big line of people, you have to make sure you get there to try and get a card. Yeah, definitely.
Wow, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, great. That's really great, man. I'm excited about the show. I'm disappointed I can't be there, but I know that you guys are going to have a great day, and I think it's only going to be great for the New Zealand card collecting community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're super excited, and obviously it's not just me. It's also Dan, Janesh, and Shane. We call ourselves.
Hmm.
I think Dan was on your podcast a little while ago and
He
talked about
was that episode was super popular
it
because he was
was.
just telling these great stories about like middle New Zealand and what it was like as a card collector. And my favorite, obviously, as you can tell from all of the promos I made, was the Betty story. I was like,
Yeah,
who's this retiree who's just going through and getting piles of cards and putting them in binders and selling to kids?
yeah,
Amazing.
exactly. Yeah, that was very cool. So I think on that he referred to us as the Four Musketeers, which is kind of how it's been,
Nice,
which is good because
nice.
it's one of those things that the bigger it gets, the more you need other people to give you a hand, and we're kind of in constant contact almost on a daily basis. And as we get closer to the show, obviously that's even become kind of more prevalent, making sure everything's sorted, set, vendors are going to be happy. Making sure we're answering any kind of questions from the public. Because we still get people who are going, well, what kind of show is it? What can we bring along? Is it just professional businesses, all that kind of thing? And so just to make sure that everybody knows it's a show for everyone, and as you well know, we've kind of had that family aspect to it. It's been really important for us to
Yeah,
get
for
kids
sure.
along, be involved, and appreciate the hobby, and hopefully they turn into lifelong card collectors.
Yeah, great. Well, I really hope that people who are listening consider going down to the show if they're not already. I really do think it's worth it. I ended up driving down from Auckland to Wellington. It was a beautiful drive. It was tough though.
Yeah,
If I were to do it again, I'd definitely book a flight since the venue is so close to the airport, and I'd do it that way. I'd probably stay the whole weekend because why not experience Wellington? But if you can't, you could just fly in, fly out on the same day. And if you're quick enough, as soon as you hear the episode, maybe just jump on and see what New Zealand flights are available, or maybe you can carpool with friends. There's all sorts of ways to get there, but it's definitely worth it. If you are a card collector, you should definitely go to the New Zealand Card Collectors Show. It's amazing.
yeah, definitely. And I think from what I'm hearing, there's going to be a few people taking a road trip. So
Yeah,
some of
great.
the cars might be packed full of card collectors, all heading into Wellington for the weekend, which would be cool. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, for sure. All right, buddy. Thanks for jumping on. It's been a lot of fun.
Excellent. Appreciate it, mate.
All
Fantastic.
right. Yeah. See ya.
Cheers.